Shang-Chi has become the master of Kung Fu, having been taught every possible way to kill a man over the last 7 years. Assigned to assassinate the man responsible for his mother's murder, Shang-Chi completes his mission but is badly traumatized. Unwilling to return to his father, Shang-Chi cleverly adopts the name Shan and starts going to high school in San Francisco. There he meets his best friend Katie, a skilled driver. While all this is happening on Earth, there's other stuff going on in the golden realm of Asgard. Loki tricks Thor into antagonizing the frost giants of Jotunheim against Odin's orders. As a consequence, Odin exiles Thor to Earth and enchants his hammer, Mjolnir, so that only someone worthy of Thor's power can lift it. It lands in New Mexico, where Agent Coulson discovers it. After a bunch of hicks try to yank it out of the ground with pickup trucks, S.H.I.E.L.D. constructs a temporary facility around it. Thor eventually proves himself worthy, regains his hammer, and stops Loki from staging a coup in Asgard. In 2011, a team of Russian oil drillers discovers the crashed hydroplane in the Arctic and alerts S.H.I.E.L.D. Captain America is thought out and revived.
Check your gear and weapons. We go soon.
Joins up with Nick Fury's Avengers mission. Turns out... With his recent brief visit to the planet being seen by the Mad Titan as relevant employment experience. In exchange, Thanos gives him control of the massive army of high destroyers. Attention! Apparently being in one of his moods. He lets himself in S.H.I.E.L.D., incites a riot, and stabs poor Bill Coulson in the back. But don't worry, he gets better. The ensuing ruckus provides the superheroes with a reason to come together. The result is the Battle of New York, in which the Avengers, Captain America, Iron Man, Thor, Black Widow, Hulk, and Hawkeye are gathered for the first time as a team. The good guys win after Loki is smashed against the ground 5 or 6 times, but the battle is not without its consequences. Unlike in the real world, where it's pretty nice these days, the MCU's version of Hell's Kitchen takes a lot of damage and winds up being a center of corruption and graft as it's rebuilt. This injustice leads blind lawyer Matt Murdock to
Use this time to train a bit. We'll be deploying soon. Hostile dropping into the area. Target down. Training's over. Time to see what you've learned.
Meet me at Bio.
In the aftermath,
I'm stuck on Bio.
recruiting some additional members into his own agency.
Resurgence! You need to buy. That's gas you don't want to breathe. Make your way to the safe zone.
Like the good secret agents around, a lot of this flies beneath the radar of most
Live, and your KIA teammates will redeploy. Any point-worthy action will return them to combat quicker. Enemy dropping into the AO. Targets are up. Take them out.
And then takes his identity, ruling over Asgard, and put him on critically acclaimed play. Sort of like a thing.
Bounty target identified. Have a little fun, yeah?
Long plot to infiltrate and take over America is finally discovered by Captain America and Black Widow, who also learned that the Winter Soldier is a brainwashed Bucky Barnes.
Enemy UAV active.
To restore his best friend's memories.
Enemy UAV active.
Hoping for an ally, Tony used the Mind Stone, a synthesized body created by Ultron, and Tony's onboard AI. Also, Scarlet Witch and Quicksilver, two definitely.
Cash bundle mark.
Under fire. Bullets, but mostly because Disney and Fox were having a problem.
Loadout drop headed your way.
The destruction in Sokovia also kills the family of Helmut Zemo, who then dedicates his life to revenge. Immediately after the battle, the Hulk hijacks a Quinjet and blasts off to space, eventually landing on Qatar. While all that's going on, Peter Quill is out in space on a job to steal a valuable... That puts him in the sights of both Rowan and Flanders, who's been looking for another Infinity Stone since 1995.
Enemy dropping into the AO.
And Thanos, who sends Gamora after him. Quill and Gamora...
Receiving hostile fire.
Warrior was killed by Thanos. Rocket, a space...
Airspace take down. Direct him.
With the help of the real power, friendship, and turn it over to the real power. A bunch of space cops on the planet Xandar. Shortly thereafter, Thanos attacks Xandar and recovers it for
I'm gonna land on the loadout and push back over there.
2015,
help you out, son. Good shit.
Resurging! Go get your revenge!
And helps to keep the pin particles out of the hands of an evil arms dealer. More importantly, it's likely somewhere around this time that a kid named Peter Parker is bitten by a radioactive spider, tries to capitalize on his powers by becoming famous as Spider-Man, and fails to stop a robber who kills his Uncle Ben. None of this is actually covered in the MCU.
Hostiles dropping into the area. There are 24 enemies active. Kill them all.
To destroy the Avengers reach its fruition.
There's two teams in this bitch.
Sokovia by trying to install new governmental oversight over the Avengers. Zemo furthers a wedge.
Objective is to eliminate the bounty target.
By revealing Bucky was the one who killed
Friendly loadout drop on the way.
He also frames Bucky for the assassination of King T'Challa, leading King T'Challa to take over leadership of the
Gas is moving in. New safe zone highlighted.
The Avengers break up. The ones loyal to Cap go underground, and T'Challa refuses to give Zemo the death he desires. Fleeing the U.S. after the rest of Cap's team is in prison, Natasha Romanoff spends some time in Norway watching James Bond films. Unfortunately, her vacation is cut short when she's attacked by
where the fuck did they dip to like that?
Allied UAV overhead. Hunt them down.
Taskmaster is the brainwashed daughter of a still alive General Zemo, who has restarted a cooler version of the Red Room, two Black Widows, and robs them of free will. One of those Black Widows turns out to be Natasha's sister, Yelena. Freed of her programming by another widow, Yelena sends the brainwashing antidote to Natasha, drawing her into the fight. Together, Yelena and Natasha work to reunite with their former parents.
Prep for area recon.
And really kill
UAV beginning flyover.
Although the dysfunctional deep cover family has more than its share of issues, they manage to work together and take down the Red Room. In the end, Yelena gets to work liberating Black Widows around the world, while Natasha goes to break her other family, the Avengers, out of jail. While all of this is going on, Dr. Stephen Strange, who lost the fine motor control in his hands after a
UAV is out of fuel. Starting for resupply.
and after her death, becomes a master of the mystic arts. He stops the invasion
Bounty target is down.
of the demonic
Marvelous.
force in the dark dimension by using the time stone to die over and over again until the cosmic villain gets annoyed enough to leave the Earth alone. Meanwhile, the Guardians of the Galaxy encounter and subsequently kill
under enemy
Ego,
tail.
to manipulate Peter Quill into aiding
Airstrike target marked. Take it out.
Galaxy.
Got your request.
In
Cluster
the
strike is
absence of
active.
Avengers,
You're losing ground. Move it.
As Spider-Man, Peter tries to deal with the evil arms dealer known as the Vulture, aka Agent Tools, who turns out to be his uncle Big.
We're tracking
He
us.
is defeated, arrested, and sent to prison, but not before he and several of Peter's classmates figure out Spider-Man's real identity. Also, Tony Stark finally proposes to him. Lest you think Peter is the only superpowered teenager in the MCU, over in New Orleans, teenagers Tandy Bowen and Tyrone Johnson acquire powers of light and darkness and become the Vigilantes Cloak and Dagger. Meanwhile, on the West Coast, privileged teenager Alex Wilder and his friends learn that now they're all supervillains who control a powerful criminal organization.
He's a very founder.
The kids go on the run, learn many of their
Engaging hostile.
superpowers organized with advanced technology, and even run afoul of dangerous artifacts like the Darkhold.
Enemy dropping into the AO.
Enemy control.
Engaging hostile. Knowledge.
Thor was after 2 years of looking for Infinity Stones in various realms. When they find their real Odin, he's at the end of his life, and his death allows Hela to escape her millennia of imprisonment.
Gas is moving
She
in.
destroys
New
the
safe zone highlighted.
blasts the two brothers into space.
Squad member is
They jump
redeploying.
out. Thor winds up on Sakaar.
Fire sale is active. Buy station costs are adjusted.
Get a self-res.
For a plan that ends with the complete destruction of in the
Damn, I'm up there. Damn.
After being presumed
Mark him again, so we can see him.
Move it on, shooter.
Regains control.
Oh shit, you the only one.
After 6 years of waiting around, Thanos decides to personally seek out the Infinity Stones. The results are devastating. He kills Loki and nearly obliterates the last surviving Asgardians. And an invasion of Earth leads to things getting so desperate that the whole Avengers crew, except Hawkeye and Ant-Man,
Locked our
who are
alley
under
point.
house arrest for violating the Sokovia Accords, need to get
That
back
was
to the
a long ass 30 seconds. God
Despite
damn.
with one small team in space and massive
Bounty target has been marked.
Trying to land back on my spot, see if I can get my weapons
Do
back.
better this time. You're losing ground. Move it. Reinforcements are on the way.
Surviving Avengers track Thanos down.
Engaging hostile.
Any chance of while Ant-Man is involved in a relatively low-stakes night spree. When the snap happens, though, he's
Yeah.
horrific trauma in various
What's up, babe?
mostly unhealthy ways.
That was too close.
Fuck.
I just want to see. What would you do if you just see my hair? Like, what was them scary movies you just had the hair? You know what I'm talking about, like Ring One?
Yeah, thank you, babe.
Tracking
Thank
over.
you.
It's okay. We got all day.
Yeah, go do something.
I'm always awake.
Hook my fries up. Go take my fries out and then put my chicken in for me.
I
Warm my
can.
chicken up.
Okay.
After Ant-Man returns, help of Iron Man and the now smart
Resurgence
Thank you, thank you.
Go get your revenge.
Damn, I lost my loadout, all my shit. Motherfuck. Damn. Yeah, my wife fucked me up, man. Good game, fellas.
25 remain. You could have lasted longer.
To wish everyone back to life. And virtually every hero in the entire MCU takes Thanos on at once. The final blow is dealt by Iron Man, who dies on the battlefield. After gathering for a funeral, Steve Rogers hops into the time stream to return everything to where it should be. Returning after living a full life with Peggy Carter in an alternate past to bequeath his shield to Sam Wilson, naming him the new Captain America. Outside of the mainstream MCU, the version of Loki that the Avengers freed from an alternate 2012 Avengers Endgame ends up in the Gobi Desert, where he immediately begins fulfilling his glorious purpose by trying to conquer the world again. Instead, he gets picked up by the Time Variance Authority, or TVA, a time police force tasked with hunting down rogue variants like Loki and destroying alternate timelines before they can branch out too far from their sacred timeline. Loki gets paired with Mobius, a sympathetic TVA agent who recruits the trickster god into the agency to help find their latest target, another Loki variant.
This isn't about you.
This variant turns out to be a female version of Loki called Sylvie, who restarts the multiverse, allowing a bunch of rogue timelines to emerge from history. Loki teams up with Sylvie and discovers the TVA is made up of variants forcibly recruited into the organization to prune rogue timelines and prevent really evil versions of the TVA's mysterious leader from destroying everything. While offered a chance to let this deception persist, Sylvie instead murders the mastermind, letting the multiverse run wild. While this may lead to the destruction of reality, it makes one cosmic being's life more interesting. The godlike lawyer, the Watcher, observes realities in which Peggy Carter receives the super soldier serum. Doctor Strange destroys his universe, and Thor becomes a party animal. Ultimately, the Watcher is forced to evolve from observer to doer when a variant Ultron threatens to destroy all sentient life in the multiverse. Assembling his own Guardians of the Multiverse team, the Watcher manipulates events so the alternate realities can continue to coexist. In the mainstream MCU, the effects of Hulk's reverse snap are being felt on both the cosmic and street level. People like Yelena Belova and Monica Rambeau snap back to existence, only to discover that 5 years have passed and their loved ones are now gone. Re-establishing their lives proves difficult, since different people live in their homes. While support networks form, entire nations are also forcing out recent immigrants due to the sudden rise in population. Believing life was better during the blip when half of all life was gone, some people react to these changes violently. Anarchist Carly Morgenthau forms a terrorist group, the Black Smashers, to attack governments threatening her one-world vision, and even augments her team with a new version of the super soldier serum. This puts her in the sights of Sam Wilson, who rejects Steve Rogers' request that he become the new Captain America. After working with Bucky Barnes and seeing how Steve's legacy can be tarnished by unworthy successors like the dangerously unhinged John Walker, Sam takes on the mantle of Captain America and stops the Black Smashers. The sudden rise in sentient life on Earth also jumpstarts the Emergence, which threatens to destroy the entire planet when a new Celestial is born. Alerted by the cosmic events and a few remaining deviants, the Eternals reunite. Where before they have always stood by and allowed planets to be destroyed, a few now have enough love for humanity to try and save the Earth. Cersei draws enough power from her teammates to halt the birth of the Celestial Teal'c, and the Celestial Erisham uses the Eternals' memories to determine if Earth should be spared. While all this is going on, one rogue Avenger is unknowingly creating her own brand of chaos in the small town of Westview, New Jersey. Unable to cope with the loss of vision, who Thanos kills by whipping the Mind Stone out of his head, Wanda Maximoff manifests powerful reality-warping abilities. Drawing from her childhood love of American sitcoms, Wanda warps Westview into an idyllic town where she lives a suburban life with a new version of Vision. She even gives birth to twin boys who quickly mature in a single episode. To maintain this illusion, Wanda inadvertently mind controls the real-life citizens of Westview into becoming her personal puppets. Her activities attract the attention of the new intelligence agency SWORD, and Agatha Harkness. While Wanda eventually comes to her senses and tries to free Westview, Agatha goads Wanda into a battle. From her teammates to halt the birth of the Celestial Tiamat, and the Celestial Erisham uses the Eternal's memories to determine if Earth should be spared. While all this is going on, one rogue Avenger is unknowingly creating her own brand of chaos in the small town of Westview, New Jersey. Unable to cope with the loss of vision, who Thanos kills by ripping the Mind Stone out of his head, Wanda Maximoff manifests powerful reality-warping abilities. Drawing from her childhood love of American sitcoms, Wanda warps Westview into an idyllic town where she lives a suburban life with a new version of Vision. She even gives birth to twin boys who quickly mature in a single episode. To maintain this illusion, Wanda inadvertently mind controls the real-life citizens of Westview into becoming her personal puppets. Her activities attract the attention of the new intelligence agency SWORD and Agatha Harkness. While Wanda eventually comes to her senses and tries to free Westview, Agatha goads Wanda into a battle. Wanda comes out on top, however, and although she has to sacrifice her happy life with her husband and children, she embraces her new role as the Scarlet Witch. She also takes Agatha's Darkhold and starts studying it, leading to some major problems very soon. Former assassin turned car valet Shang-Chi, currently going by Sean, learns his father is gunning for him when 10 Rings agents steal the jade pendant his mother left him. Teaming up with his sister, Shang-Chi finally addresses his issues with his father, stopping Wenwu from unleashing the soul-sucking monster known as Dweller in Darkness on the world. Before dying to save his son, Wenwu grants Shang-Chi the 10 Rings, which begins sending signals out into the universe. In Europe, Peter Parker attempts to have a vacation free of Spider-Man. Unfortunately, this becomes impossible when Nick Fury, actually the shape-shifting Skrull Talos, who is covering for Fury while he's on vacation in space, recruits Spider-Man to help Mysterio, a man claiming to be from an alternate universe, to save the world from dangerous elements of evil. the return of Blade, and an exciting sequel in the third Ant-Man and the Wasp adventure, which will feature Kang the Conqueror, a menacing variant of the character you may know as He Who Remains. A Black Panther sequel will broaden the world of Wakanda, and a fourth Thor movie will prove Jane Foster worthy of wielding the hammer. And in the more distant future, we'll certainly see the arrival of the Fantastic Four, the X-Men, and who knows what else. The MCU timeline is an ever-shifting thing, but when it comes to the first 15 years or so, you can now consider yourself fully caught up.
Cool. So cool.
Check out one of our newest videos right here. Plus, even more Looper videos about the Marvel Cinematic Universe are coming soon. Subscribe to our YouTube channel and hit the bell so you don't miss a single one.
Enemy soldier nearby. Check your gear and weapons. We go soon. Resurgence. Be advised, gas is closing in. Proceed to the safe zone.
Vendor, if you need to buy.
Survive to redeploy fallen teammates and earn points to return them faster. Execute all targets to KO.
I killed someone with a fucking lock, mate. I killed him with the Glock, mate. I'm kidding. I did kill someone with the Glock, though.
Do better this time. Reinforcements are on the way.
Chat, I hope you're enjoying the stream. My fourth, I believe. Yes, it's my fourth stream. Brand new streamer.
Supply box identified. Marking location now.
Before you drop the follow, but you don't have to. It was just recommendation. Do this. SMG. Right now, I'm gonna take the blue.
Here we go again.
Spotted gas. Gives me the Armaguero.
Allied precision airstrike incoming. Be aware. Friendly loadout drop on the way. Next objective updated. Enemy UAV active.
I'm using my Bluetooth. Hope it goes good.
I'm in their sight.
Keep your safety sharp. The enemy team is tracking the location. Over here.
Need some first aid. They got me in their sight.
I got you.
You're losing ground. Move it.
Where the hell was he?
Going back
Enemy
in.
soldier nearby.
Taking shots here. Receiving hostile fire. Target down.
There are 24 enemies active. Kill them all.
Yeah, we're doing
You got a second chance. Make it count. Reinforcements are on the way.
Yo, huh?
Hello.
What's up?
Enemy UAV active.
Sustaining fire.
Prep for area loadout on the way. Contract complete. All supply boxes down.
Sustaining fire.
UAV beginning flyover.
Some of that is in this movie as well. And again, to our Americanized, it's very out of place. It's still is really entertaining. I mean, in Predator, if Carl Weathers
You've got another chance to make a difference. UAV is out of fuel. Returning for resupply.
it would seem really it happens in this movie. It seems odd and silly again to Americans, but it's
Fuck the wrong damn loadout.
Oh, damn it, I missed the window. Whatever.
Enemy soldier nearby.
Action movie. If you want to see something that looks and feels like something you've seen before, Disney Plus has all of that stuff. If you want to check out something new and different,
Going back in.
is a really good watch. You will have to read subtitles, and it is 3 hours, but honestly, there's kind of an intermission thing in the middle. You can watch
He's one
this in
shot.
2 sittings.
Enemy sighted.
He was one shot at
It's
least.
the newest movie on the list. Just this month, and it's one I was pleasantly surprised by.
Hostile fire.
This is another Chris Hemsworth project, and it's actually also stars Steve Miller, and was directed by the same director as
Bro, I'm so low.
come out a couple of years ago. Spider-Head is an amazing...
On your left.
Under fire.
Damn, he hit in the motherfucking tub on your ass. Cold.
I would have enjoyed this movie, but I would have felt like I wasn't quite getting my money's worth because it is, again, kind of done on this small scale. That said, this is a wild scientist flick. Chris Hemsworth.
You've got another chance to make a difference. One of your allies is back in the game.
Yeah, I'm going for the loadout.
RPG.
One of your allies is back in the game.
Much raunchier than I expected it to be. Kind of nature of the experiment.
You suffer so
I'm in the sight.
Of some fantastic moments.
Two up there. There's two of them up there.
Favorite performance
Yeah,
side of a Marvel movie. I've liked
got
him in
you.
some other things, but he's really playing it up in this one, and it was really fun.
One of your allies is back in the game.
Serious character most of the time, and here he's having a little bit more fun. I really appreciated it again for a Netflix.
Plating up.
I have an idea.
Enemy soldier nearby.
Where is he?
I'm gonna get you.
Oh, he's backwards.
Somebody take this first.
Oh shit, they down here. Shit, it's a whole squad. 2 squads probably. It's thick. Oh yeah. They're down, bro. They're down, bro. Let me get my motherfucking grub, goddammit.
Well, I mean, I would not have said this at the time when I was 12, but now, 25 years later, I would easily put this movie above Independence Day, which came out around the same time. But speaking of 90s action movies, Cliffhanger, I think, is one of Stallone's most overlooked movies, or at least underrated ones. Now, don't get me wrong, it does have an audience, it did do fairly well at the box office, but it was also kind of panned critically when it was released, because it does have some silliness to it. And you've got actors like John Lithgow, who typically do a really good job, that seem a little bit campy here. So this movie does hit and miss at times, but Cliffhanger is completely packed with stunts. Big ones, real ones, stuff that was not done in CGI, things stuntmen are really putting their lives on the line for. And Cliffhanger was released in 1993, and to this day, it still holds a place in the Guinness Book of World Records for the most expensive aerial stunt ever done in a movie. There's a moment early on where some people and packages are trying to move from one plane to another across a cable. A lot of what you see in this scene was done for real, with real stunt people. It cost about $1 million, and again, still holds a place in the Guinness Book of World Records, even with inflation. There's a long-running rumor that Jason Momoa is cast in a remake, but COVID messed up production with everything, so that movie has yet to begin production, and it may never actually get made, but I do think it's a movie...
Use this time to train a bit. We'll be deploying soon.
If it's been a while since you've seen it, I guarantee you forgot how to do it. Now for a couple of watch your back! Really intense, oriented movies, one of which actually...
Enemy soldier nearby!
One for the whole family is Spy Kids. Now, Robert Rodriguez is money. His movies are a lot more expensive than they he was always doing these sort of rogue things.
Playtime's over. Stand by for deployment to the war zone.
They're still really visually impressive and
Resurgence. Rush to the safe zone. You got gas closing in fast. Fallen allies will redeploy as long as you remain alive. Earn points to bring them back to the action faster. Hostiles dropping into the area. Kill all targets.
Gotta complete the mission.
Coming back for that motherfucker. Hit me with the gauge.
Second best movie he ever did in the director's chair. I'm talking about Baby.
Enemy in sight.
This is one that when it was released, I didn't really
Coming back to decon,
care too much about it, and it became
resurging. Go get
squad in bio. Just got my ass whooped in bio.
One of your allies is back in the game.
It's the most rewatchable movie Clint Eastwood's ever done, but it's got some of the best ever perform on screen. But in this
Somebody a terrible shot. Oh, they just got better.
Objective is to eliminate the bounty target. Enemy UAV active.
Later and did this and did an amazing job. Clint Eastwood is good in it, as good as he is in everything, but he's also got like good character actors in this.
Somebody over here with us.
In this, Anthony Mackie is in it, and then Martha Martindale, who you see in a ton of stuff. She plays the mother. I think this is maybe her best role ever, which says a lot with the amount of work that she's done. So this movie just hits on all cylinders. But the problem with $1 Million
Behind you.
is that you do need to do a lot of movies to put you in.
Save it, save it, save it.
I'm hit! I'm hit!
Just got hit from somewhere up that motherfucker.
Movies, there are a ton of them. I happen to like this one. I would even argue that it's the best Tom Clancy movies, certainly better ones, but Clear and Present
Enemy UAV
has so many
active.
elements that I absolutely love. This is part of the Jack Ryan series.
You've got gas
I
moving
always
in.
thought Harrison Ford was maybe the best Jack
Enemy
Ryan.
UAV
More
active.
realistic and
Enemy
less of an
UAV
action
active.
hero, which I think works for this story and Patriot games. Clear Presentation, you also get this great from Willem Dafoe, and then you get some of the other
Squad
commandos
member
like
is
Brandon
redeployed.
He's still camping, never mind.
And then you get these incredible action sequences. You get the one with all the white suburbans.
Reinforcements are on the way.
There's the missile strike scene. And today it's very difficult to appreciate how slow printers used
25 still remain in the AO.
with a printer that is what the most
Squad member is
scenes in this
redeploying.
entire movie. And then as you get to the
Time to cover your tracks. There's an enemy team hunting for you.
action type thing that kind of seems to come out of nowhere, yet it manages to work. Harrison Ford is such a
Hostile
great
dropping into the area. Time's up. Objective failed.
That he probably would have never found himself in. So I just really enjoy watching it. This is one of the movies I could put on any time, at any point in the movie.
Enemy cluster strike. Watch your heads.
Now, because this list is really just trying to go for the best of what's on Netflix right now, I don't have
Got a loadout drop inbound.
I find comedies to be not as rewatchable unless they're just really, really good. But one of the best ones on Netflix right now that is so rewatchable is...
Enemy UAV active.
Now, I know this
Squad
one
member is redeployed.
is unusually so...
Gas is closing in. Relocating the safe zone.
It is going
Shit.
to make you hungry.
Enemy
I need
UAV active.
$1,000.
A sort of celebrity
Need
chef
500.
that gets booted from
Never
the
mind.
restaurant and starts to reboot his career with a food truck. I know that's not the most interesting plot line you've ever heard, but what's really interesting to me is it's directed by Jon Favreau, who's a big-time director. He's done a ton of movies, but the story here is very similar to his experience with the Iron Man series. So real quick,
loadout drop inbound.
Iron Man, the first one, and Iron Man 2, and Iron Man was, I believe, the first or one of the first movies in the Marvel Cinematic Universe, and was and still is largely considered...
One of your allies is back in the game.
Whereas Iron Man 2 is considered to be among the worst. So after directing the second one, he left the Marvel movies, went away with this movie, and has since worked his way back up with Disney.
Enemy soldier nearby.
I'm hit. I'm hit.
And there was a sequence of scenes.
Alright, we got a sniper over there at Bio.
And you can clearly see this is Jon
Enemy precision airstrike. Stay alert.
with movie producers and his creativity as a director. I think it's really cool to see it come to life in this typical setting of this restaurant. And then you get this great father-son bonding thing. John Leguizamo has an amazing role in it.
Supply box ready for pickup.
There is foul language in it. It's
Moving fire.
Stay alert.
really just a broadly appealing movie.
Oh shit, somebody pick me up. Oh, they on top of D-card.
You're shooting at me. I'm taking fire.
I'm lit up.
Stay alive, stay alive. We got 2 loadouts over that motherfucker too. All our eggs in one basket.
Interesting ones he ever did, and obviously
You aren't done yet.
a cult classic. But I can tell you, I recently rewatched it with my entire family. My kids were still.
Squad member is redeployed.
It's an amazing look. to
Enemy
it.
UAV active.
Everything you see, almost everything you see on camera, is in camera. It's got real light hitting it. It's real textures.
One of your allies is back in the game. Hostile dropping into the area. Watch the skies.
Shit, they got me again. Pick me up, Orange. Pick me up, Orange. Oh shit, they got your ass too. Damn. You came in that motherfucker the wrong way.
You've got one of 25 left.
Looks totally convincing.
I'm gonna try it
There's one
again.
scene that doesn't hold up, in my opinion, but outside of that, A really impressive watch, and just kind of an amazing story, too. It's a great one to go back and revisit with the family, if you haven't done that yet. Okay, my number 12 pick is another family-friendly pick, and it is the last family-friendly one on this list, but it's also the one and only family-friendly movie from director Martin Scorsese. So obviously Martin Scorsese is known for movies like Taxi Driver, Goodfellas, The Wolf of Wall Street, stuff kids should stay far away from. But Hugo is not only his only family-friendly movie, it's also one of his most beautiful movies.
Hey, holding for deployment. Take this time to ready up.
Beautiful color palette and a bunch of really interesting characters packed into this small space. I talked a little bit about
I'm hit! Hostiles got into the area. Watch this side.
That you see in Hugo was work together really well and not come off as fake or patched or unconvincing. The world of Hugo
enemy soldier nearby.
Wonderful and beautiful.
That's what you get.
Serves a purpose for the story that's being told. You also get amazing performances, not just from the child actors in this, but you get a great look.
Playtime's over. Stand by for deployment to the war zone.
Sacha Baron Cohen has a really interesting role.
Rally there.
That are not just familiar, that are modern day classics.
Resurgence. Set a drop point for your team, soldier. That's gas you don't want to breathe. Make your way to the safe zone. Survive to redeploy fallen teammates and earn points to return them faster. Primary objective is to eliminate all enemies. Attack!
The main thing to remember, but in addition to that, and I would say almost even better than that, it's just
enemy UAV active.
We've only done Days with Jamie Foxx and the Replacement Killers, 2 decent movies, but Training Day is the best top movie ever made.
Your team has deployed a radar jammer.
Probably not going to be making, at least coming out of Hollywood, for quite some time.
Mark that vendor for you.
Training Day is really that is greater than the sum of its parts. Meaning, it's better than the Denzel Washington performance. It's better than Ethan Hawke's performance, which also got an Academy Award nomination. I think it's
got the key card.
Movie. I don't know that he's ever topped it, and he might never be able to. And then you've also got a lot of small roles from some people.
Drop it. Come on, drop it.
They do great work in this movie.
I got the key card. Y'all ain't trying to fuck with the loadout. I mean, what the fuck is that? Stronghold specialist.
If not the best, you're gonna find on Netflix right now.
I'm down to go try to get it.
Somebody get us some transportation. Or we gonna thug it out. We running. We got a Jeep on the other side of this building. Okay, let's make it. Let's go.
Until just recently, today's sponsor, Sinbird, has completely changed my view of my attitude.
I'll ride along.
So Sinbird is really close to the Christmas service.
We rolling. Y'all rolling? Y'all ain't rolling?
Oh my God! This is right on your tail. Enemy soldier nearby.
I can tell you, I learned this vacation. supersets built into the one for men. I guess they only have one fragrance for men. It's kind of a more traditional sort of musky, whiskey sort of smelling thing. It's a good one for men who wear a suit.
Supply box ready for pickup.
Just as many, if not more, perfumes.
Well, y'all want to, oh shit.
They're going to ask you to answer questions, and that's going to help them figure out what sort of
I threw the load out a little bit in front of us.
Believe it or not, this little vial, I'm almost at the end of my Versace one. It's got 140 sprays in it.
Next objective update.
I use the hell out of this thing. It's got more than you need for a month.
Next objective update.
And with a discount, you pay $11 for your first month. And I can tell you, vials this size, they go for $30 in the store, easily. It's incredible how.
Where we pushing to?
But Scentburn helps you save.
We need to get that height advantage.
Enemy UAV active.
We don't want motherfuckers on top of us.
Got a loadout drop inbound. Objective is in reach. Abort the contract. Enemy soldier nearby.
Waste.
Gas is closing in. Relocating the safe zone.
I'm hit.
Shit, I'm fucking stuck in the goddamn thing. That's crazy. Fucking leg got stuck in the goddamn grappler.
Cluster strike arriving.
Nothing I couldn't handle.
2 years after
You aren't done yet. One of your allies
I'm going to the loadout.
But I do think it's in a similar class. While it's not as heavy, not as brooding, it does have a lot of interesting elements to it. If you are not familiar with the game, it plays a wealthy banker who is invited to participate in a game. And
One below us.
Things like Squid Game. This
Hostile dropping into the area. Reinforcements are on the way.
Or not. And the movie does an excellent job of portraying. You really wrap your head around this one. It's a very tricky sort of magic trick thing for the movie to do, to keep you as much as the main character, but the game manages to nail it to a T, so much so that you can rewatch the game knowing what the twists are, and they're almost just as good the second time around.
One of your allies is back in the game.
Damn, somebody on the roof, they just fucked me up. Get his ass, Purple. Damn. Hopefully I can make it back and get my loadout back.
So we already mentioned Robert Rodriguez with Spy Kids, and I said there was another movie of his further up on this list.
I'm coming back for my guns. Oh, the loadout's still there too. Oh shit, it's a wrap. Somebody landing on you.
Keep moving forward.
For the story at large in the movie. Steve Buscemi does an amazing job.
Shit, can I make it? Can I make it?
You've got a second chance. Make it count.
Oh, fuck that up. Motherfucker.
That's my brand.
He walks in to Six Blade Night by Dire Straits. It's one of my favorite songs. I absolutely love everything about the opening sequence. And then it just rolls into this great action movie from the 90s that, again, was done on a fairly low budget.
Here we go again.
Like it cost way more money.
Reinforcements are on the way. Gas is moving in. New safe zone highlighted.
Targeted.
Everything looked cool. There's no
Hostile operator.
bullets and guns are able to before they reload. In fact, they only really reload need someone to have to reload for some sort of moment of tension or something. And that's the
Taking shots here.
I'm hit. Resurging. Go get your revenge. Fire sales done. Prices are back to normal.
I'm hit! I'm hit!
Fuck.
Now, I consider Desperado to be the better movie, so it makes the list, although I do recommend them.
You're losing ground. Move it.
My next pick is Once Upon a Time in
Hostile dropping into the area. Watch the skies.
Once Upon a Time in the West, and
Anybody got any plates?
in fact, Sergio Leone directed
There's plates in there, bro.
Where?
of all time. And while Once Upon a Time in America is not technically a Western, it's still filmed and has some of the most beautiful cinematography ever put to film. That is not an overstatement. You do need to be pretty patient for this one, but instead of waiting for something to happen, take in the look of this movie. Everything was set up with such precision. Almost every single shot in this movie looks like it could be a painting. It's really amazing stuff. And you've got great performances from Robert De Niro, James Woods, and Jennifer Connelly again. She makes it on this list twice.
Squad members redeployed.
I believe it's about 10 minutes.
No second chances. Resurgence has been closed.
It's in a prison.
You got gas inbound. Safe zone relocated. Hostile dropping into the area. Bounty target identified. Have a little fun, yeah?
Slower paced movies. It's not my job to twist your arm into watching.
Got you back.
Majorly was the next pick, but in terms of laughs per minute, I think.
Plate up, everybody. I'm plating up real quick. Oh shit! Where that come from? Where that come from?
Fuck me up.
Watch my back. Watch my back. Watch my back. Watch my back. Plate up. I'm plating up. Plate up. I'm plating up.
Damn it, bro.
But incredibly clever. And Team America isn't just funny because the
Get that other armor section.
Found a field upgrade.
Team America nails this amazing balance between poking fun at sort of this
Time to cover your tracks. There's an enemy team hunting for you.
A
lot of bobos.
in Hollywood. I mean, this movie takes a giant hit on a bunch of specific people in Hollywood. Hollywood movies are never gonna do. It's just something.
10 remain. Victory is within reach.
Try up below me.
Enemy dropping into the area.
I'm in their sight.
It's got so many different kinds.
Got it.
Just pure silliness, and then it's got really clever laughs. Again, it's some of the hypocrisy in Hollywood. It's some of your weird false.
Gas is inbound. Marking new safe zone.
Cultures and things. It's just it's pitch perfect stuff. If you have not watched it in a while, especially if you never gave it a
You're
chance,
losing ground. Move it.
this is comedic gold that deserves to be watched. Easily one of the funniest, if not the funniest.
Allied
thing
UAV
to
overhead.
watch on
Hunt
the
them down.
I have not watched it in quite a while.
Enemy patrol.
Allied precision airstrike incoming. Be aware. Got gas inbound. Five remain. Stay sharp.
If he's playing someone who's mentally handicapped,
You're losing ground. Move it.
these characters like this, it doesn't look like they're mocking, or it's just a tightrope walk. But in addition to all of that, he's incredibly young here. It's one of his first big roles. But he's also playing this character as if he's a 3-year-old. I mean, as someone who has young children, I'm not sure how this teenage boy figured out how to act like a 3-year-old, but he nailed it.
You got gas inbound. Safe zone relocated. Mission accomplished.
Good game,
All
good game,
targets
fellas.
eliminated.
Smaller movies, This Boy's Life, which is a pretty good movie with Robert De Niro, but it's not great. far and away my favorite of games, probably will forever be. Now, while this does take place in Southern California and is not based on a film, but it's based on two events sort of woven together, this was filmed in Plano, Texas, because the oil industry changed the landscape of Southern California so much they couldn't find a place that looked the way it used to before the oil industry came to town. But not only was this filmed in Plano, Texas, No Country for Old Men was filmed at the exact same time in Plano, Texas, which is not a huge town and had two huge movie crews trying to coexist in it at the same time. Both movies would go on to be nominated for Best Picture later that year, No Country for Old Men being the winner. And while I do love that movie, and it's one of my favorites from the Coen brothers, I think There Will Be Blood is the bigger achievement in terms of cinema. Every single shot in this movie looks incredible. It all looks beautiful. Again, every single shot could be a painting. A lot of what is built in this movie was built the way that it was back then. They used a lot of antiquated tools and stuff just to go for authenticity. A lot of the way the oil derrick and stuff is set up was to old-timey specifications.
Holding for deployment. Take this time to ready up.
This incredible sort of citizen king of a story. It is easily the
enemy dropping into the AO.
I'm including Lincoln, my left foot. This character is its own being.
Hostiles dropping into the area. Watch the sky.
Some weird person. It's wild character coming up. What would normally be sort of mundane scenes completely come to life with this.
Enough training. Now you fight a real enemy.
This uncomfortableness that you just not going to this spot on the list.
Resurgence. Gas is approaching your position. Get to the safe zone.
Look at the grain on my face in hell. That's how old this movie is.
Fallen allies will redeploy as long as you remain alive. Earn points to bring them back to the action faster. Enemy soldiers nearby. Kill all targets.
CGI or anything to make it look like it's not
enemy UAV active.
Going back in.
Nicely, but they also just cut out some garbage stuff that the studio made them put in when the movie was released in theaters, like an unnecessary narration that doesn't add much to the story, but the studio thought we were all too without it. There's no way to a couple of clips and a dream sequence.
Enemy radar jammer detected in your area.
So this is sort of the version of this movie.
Bounty target identified. Have a little fun, yeah?
Come on, 2 minutes.
And I'm not trying to talk about this as some highbrow thing that can't be just sort of lock into it. And because
we go again.
The world of Blade Runner, nailed it. I still hold that this and Alien are two of his best movies as and two of his best science fiction movies ever.
Enemy soldier nearby.
Granted, a lot of the stuff that's in Blade Runner today because it's been and redone so many times, but Blade Runner in 1982 was such an original concept and such an original vision of the future that still holds up today and is still just a marvel to watch. Now, while I do think Blade Runner The Final Cut is the best version, I actually don't think Apocalypse Now Redux is the best version of that movie.
Come on, buy load up.
They added a bunch of scenes that don't really
Done from cashier.
We need more than that. Is it a sale?
Enemy UAV active.
It is remastered.
I need a whole lot more.
This is one of the best ways to
Friendly loadout drop on the way.
a little more fat on it than the original cut. It looks stunning. Scene after scene looks so incredible. And this movie
You've got gas moving in.
wild backstory into how intense the production was. There's actually a documentary about it called Hearts of Darkness. Francis Ford Coppola started to lose his mind, and also he might have been doing a little too much cocaine, but that's neither here nor there. In this movie, not only him, but Martin Sheen, a lot.
How you use that thing?
Enemy soldier nearby. Bounty target is down.
And there's something magical about
Okay, we're inside. Scan for movement.
that makes this thing work better than most movies work. And then you've also got some amazing production stories like Lawrence Fishburne, who was actually only 15.
Allied precision airstrike incoming. Be aware.
He was 18. That launched his career. Punishing movie. There's so much brutality in it, but it is a genius work of filmmaking. While The Godfather and The Godfather Part 2 are kind of
Shit, where did you just get hit from?
Coppola's best work.
You on the roof? You on the roof?
I'm hit! Throw that restaurant, bro.
Friendly loadout drop on the way.
Unusually broadly appealing action movie.
You right.
Some
This is Phoenix 3, strike inbound.
And Gary
Gas is closing in. Relocating the safe zone. No enemy hits on that one.
Oh shit, there's still one left in there. Right around the corner. Good shit with the slide. I gotta practice my slide game. I'm coming back to get my shit, fellas.
Resurging. Go get your revenge.
Shit, can I do a double up? Nah, it wouldn't be worth it. Oh shit, somebody picked me up. I just broke my goddamn ankles.
Objective is to eliminate the bounty target.
Now, this is written and directed by Luke Besson, who has done 8
Enemy
looking out.
UAV active.
of The Fifth Element. And his movies can be hit and miss, but I think this one is easily sort of...
Damn, I thought I had an armor satchel.
...of his filmography, even though...
Enemy soldier nearby.
Nothing is as good and as...
Try one of these guns. Try one of these guns so you can get a samurai.
Tracking enemy.
How many times you've seen this movie in reviews, or if you own a copy, it's going to be turning on Netflix because you can spend 20, 30 minutes, hell, you can spend an hour looking around Netflix. You're not going to find anything better than The Professional, except for my number one pick, which is easily the most widely known and appreciated movie.
Enemy UAV active.
Possibly ever, but
There are 24 enemies active. Kill them all.
So there's so much lore behind the release of Jaws and sort of how many people watched it and how many people got scared out of the water.
Gas is inbound.
How you doing, man?
Jaws actually is.
Squad member is redeployed.
That's what we're doing.
Even though that does help. But that was actually done on accident. It wasn't intentional. But that's also part of the magic of what makes this movie work so well. And not just because there's so many good lines.
Damn! Pick me up, somebody. Oh, you about to finish me off. Yeah, I was real slow with that one. Good game. Well, you made it back.
For example, you maybe never noticed this shot. It seems like a very simple scene, two guys talking to each other, but the camera never cuts away. It's one single shot as they're on this ferry.
You've got another chance to make a difference. It's all on you until squad mates redeploy.
During the conversation, it's subtle.
Enemy UAV active. Tread carefully. got gas inbound. Safe zone relocated. One of your enemies. Fire sale is active. Fire station costs are
Only
adjusted.
iron sharpens iron.
Another example is how the mood in this scene gradually changes from joy to pure dread as Clint tells the story of sharks feeding after
Bounty target is down.
that they put in the movie at the perfect moment right before they begin the battle the shark. I mean, that story heightens the fear to an absolute...
Objective is to eliminate the bounty target.
Kicks off. It is absolutely brilliant, and trust me, the movie is packed with stuff like that.
Resurgence is about to end. Keep your head on a swivel.
All those things into consideration, even the accidental stuff, Jaws is quite popular.
Fire sales done. Prices are back to normal.
Made. I hope you get some more enjoyment out of some movies like this. I'm moving away from my typical videos, but if you like this one, I may do videos like this again in the future. But that's it for now.
Gas is inbound.
Patreon supporters. There's a link in the video description. There's also a link in there to become a channel member and get access to exclusive videos right here on YouTube. But I will keep making these videos as long as you keep watching them.
Run,
Thanks for
get
watching
to the
this
zone.
Netflix episode, and you will see me on the next one. Hey everybody, this is Dan.
Somebody must be over this way.
Enemy soldier
Seen that
nearby.
strike came from over that way.
I've lost your trail. You're safe.
Waste.
Oh shit.
This is the end game. Resurgence has been turned off. Get to the new safe zone. Gas is closing in. You're the last one alive. Survive at all costs.
But in this list, I did find 20 really good movies, but I really had to dig. So in less time than it would normally take you to find something to watch, I'm going to present you 20.
Time's up. Objective failed.
Athletic Greens sponsored this video.
Hostile dropping into the area. Watch the skies.
19K Cedar Rapids. On a business convention in Cedar Rapids. And this is pretty good.
Watch yourself. There's two of them over here.
What's going on? Ed Helms is sort of new to the convention life, and he hooks up with these seasoned veterans, and they start cutting loose on this business trip, and that is about it. There's also a really great story.
Gas is moving.
So even though there's not just like knee slapper situations going on,
You've made it to the top 10.
Involved really elevates the
Enemy UAV active.
Pick me up, pick me up, pick me up, pick me up, pick me up.
Dear friend, you'll be okay.
The next spot on this list goes to a Colin Farrell flick, and
Oh shit, sniper. Good game, good game, good game.
Still standing. Next time will be different. Turn the place for debrief.
Now, speaking of some big stars in underrated movies, one of John Travolta's most underrated movies is Blowout, which was actually directed by Brian De Palma. In fact, Blowout is so good, it's actually part of the Criterion Collection, and in this movie, John Travolta plays a sound recorder, or I guess sound engineer, and he records the sound of a car accident that he believes was actually a murder. And what's really cool about Blowout is he begins working with very, very thin evidence. I mean, there's almost nothing for him to grab onto. And then it develops into this great mystery that's really well directed by Brian De Palma. And it still looks great today because it's part of the Criterion Collection. It's been remastered really well, so the movie's sharp, it looks good, and it's a very, very good mystery movie starring John Travolta. This is a great example of just a movie I highly recommend. I don't care if you're a fan of John Travolta or not, if you care about Brian De Palma movies, this is just a good, solid movie that is sure to please a pretty broad
Y'all didn't hear that, did y'all?
So, the following statement is true. Martin Scorsese has directed twice as many remakes as he has sequels. And that's because he's only one sequel. The sequel being The Color of Money, which is actually a sequel to The Hustler, which is a great 1961 film starring Paul Newman and Jackie Gleason. Now, the Scorsese version stars a very old Paul Newman, who's playing the same character, yet he's mentoring a new, young hustler with Tom Cruise. Now, I actually really like Tom Cruise's performance in this movie. He is obviously much more known nowadays for his action roles, but he was always a fantastic actor, and it's cool to see him play this character who's a little too overconfident. He plays all of that really, really well, and this movie is an excellent follow-up to The Hustler, which is still an excellent movie that works really well today. I actually think Scorsese's sequel is not quite as good as the original. I think the original is a little more solid, and the sequel is a little bit looser, which is why it's so far back on this list. In fact, I'd probably put the original really close to the front of this list, but The Color of Money is still a really fantastic movie. Whether you care about pool or not, it's plenty entertaining from beginning to end. Okay, we're not quite done with hidden gem and lesser-known movies on this list just yet. There's a few more, but we are starting to edge into the more well-known movies with Castaway. Now, obviously, Castaway has held up over time. I mean, Wilson himself is a meme, and there's so many things that have endured with this movie. I feel like except for the entire movie itself, and Castaway is excellent. Now, you may remember bits and pieces of it, but it starts off great. There's this amazing plane crash sequence that was incredibly well done. And then, obviously, you're spending most of the time on this island with Tom Hanks. But think about that for a second. You know, he's not the only actor to do that, to be the only person on camera for most of the movie, but he did it in a way that makes Castaway work for mass audiences. This is not some little indie thing that only the art film crowd is going to enjoy. Mass audiences really enjoyed and connected with this movie, despite there being hardly any dialogue. I mean, that's quite a feat, and Castaway is a really beautiful movie. Even if you didn't really connect with the ending the first time you saw it, I will say it is an ending that will hit people differently depending on where they are in their life. It's just another reason why this is such a good movie. All right, we've got 14 movies left on this list, but it's time for me to tell you about today's sponsor, AG1 by Athletic Greens. Now, over the past couple of years, I have made dramatic changes to my lifestyle. I've become a full-time YouTuber. Obviously, there was a global pandemic, and in the mix of all of that, I have really started to prioritize my health, largely due to the pandemic. I mean, I'm exercising routinely, I feel great, and one of the things I've introduced into my routine over the past several months is AG1 by Athletic Greens. I mean, just one scoop of the AG1 powder is completely packed with vitamins, antioxidants, probiotics, I mean, everything you want from a leafy green diet packed into a really convenient 8-ounce drink. Now, taking AG1 every day in conjunction with exercise has made me feel so much better day to day. And I don't just feel great, I also feel like I'm checking something off the list. I know I'm getting a lot of nutrients that I would be missing from a leafy green diet. I mean, I don't know about you, but I don't wake up in the morning craving a big, long food. I can knock back an 8-ounce glass of leafy green diet throughout the day. And right now, when my viewers use the link in the video description, they're going to get a free gift that includes a year's supply of vitamin D3 and K2, which is going to further support your immune system. And honestly, I do not know why you wouldn't want to have the most resilient immune system possible right now. But when you order, you're going to get all this: the big bag of Athletic Greens, a nice jar to keep it in the fridge, the scoop, the bottle to drink it out of, and you're also going to get 5 travel packs as part of that free gift. So again, go to the link in the description. I've absolutely loved adding this to my routine. I think a lot of you will as well. But let's move on with this list, because we got 14 movies left to talk about. My next pick got a ton of critical acclaim back when it came out, but it was still largely unseen because it's mostly for the art crowd. But Beast of the Southern Wild is a beautiful movie. Now, this takes place in a fantasy world. As you look at some of the clips I'm showing you, it looks like it's just sort of like poverty-stricken Louisiana, and it does appear that way for most of the movie, but the way the story is told, they live in sort of a fanciful world. Now, it's up for debate as to how much of that is in this little girl's head and how much of it is actually the world of the movie, but it makes for something really stunning. I mean, this is, you don't hear me say this often, but this is the type of movie that you could refer to as poetic. That's very much the way that it's delivered. So if any of that strikes you, again, this is a beautiful movie, but if you're not used to watching artsier movies, this one may confuse you a little bit just because it does have a really bizarre tone and direction. Now, if Beast of the Southern Wild is not really your bag, but you still want to watch a really heartwarming movie about a little girl, I have always had a soft spot for Little Miss Sunshine. Now, this movie was such a hit, there's probably not many people watching that have not seen this movie, but for a movie about a family on a cross-country trip, Little Miss Sunshine is surprisingly broadly appealing. Every single character in this movie is incredibly well carved out. You've got such a big family, and there's so many characters, yet they manage to really define them all fairly quickly, and then they're all very different. That's what makes Little Miss Sunshine really special. It also has a lot of fantastic moments in it that are just elevated by this really great cast. If it's been a while since you've seen it, not only is it well worth rewatching, but I think you'll be surprised at how rewatchable this movie actually is because of all those great moments that kind of only get better and richer and funnier with multiple viewings. But then if neither one of those is for you, District 9 is also included with Prime Video right now, which is one of my favorite movies in this genre. And no, not just the sci-fi genre, but the lower budget sci-fi. Now, this was filmed for about $30 million, which sounds like an extraordinary amount of money, but for a movie like this with this many visual effects packed in, it is not much money at all, which actually squeaks this into an indie category. In fact, District 9 is one of my most anticipated, or I guess I should say craved, sequels that we've never got. Neil Blomkamp went on to do some other movies that were hit and miss. I think they missed more than they hit, and for some reason, they just did not make a District 9 2, but still the original. Not only does it have this amazing look, but it goes in this dark, twisted body horror sci-fi thing. It's got some amazing, amazing visuals and some wild action sequences as you get closer and closer to the climax. Just a solid movie from beginning to end. If it's been a while since you've watched it, it is easily one of the best things on Prime Video right now, along with the remaining movies on this list. Now, I am a big Wes Anderson fan. In fact, I find some of his most recent work to be among his best. Yet with that statement, I'll also say one of his first movies I think is still one of his best. I absolutely love everything about Rushmore.
I like your nurse's uniform, guy. These are OR scrubs. Oh, are they?
Bill Murray is featured in a lot of Wes Anderson movies, and while I like his character in most of them, I think this might be his best Wes Anderson role. You also get this really early role from Jason Schwartzman, who went on to do some amazing things, but this is kind of the crown jewel of his movie career. He was really young, and he carried this entire Wes Anderson feature that stars Bill Murray. I mean, it works so incredibly well. It's got such a subtle sense of humor that is pretty consistent all the way through, and this is just a great movie that makes me chuckle and is still a good movie from beginning to end, too. It's not just a silly Bill Murray movie. There's some solid stuff going on here, and I absolutely love it. If you've never seen it, it is a classic movie for a reason. They do have quite a few M. Night Shyamalan movies included with Prime Video, including The Sixth Sense and Signs, and while I like those movies, I find The Sixth Sense, even though it's kind of his most famous movie, I find it to not be that rewatchable. Most of the value in that movie is in the twist and Haley Joel Osment's performance. Not as much with the story in the movie, but Unbreakable, I think, is one of his, if not his best movie. There are quite a few. It still goes in this comic book direction, but it never quite gets silly. It lives in this really interesting limbo space, and as weird as that is, Unbreakable works. Like, it feels like it could actually take place in our world. And for that reason, all the little subtle things that he did with the writing and the directing on Unbreakable, I think is what makes it his best film. Now, there are some that you may say are more entertaining or more fun to watch, and even though I liked Splinter, I don't think he really followed up Unbreakable very well with Glass. It didn't quite work, but Unbreakable is highly rewatchable. It's an amazing story, and it's incredibly well told. All right, let's dial the clock all the way back to 1974 with Mel Brooks's Young Frankenstein. Now, it's hard to say what is Mel Brooks's best movie because he made so many bangers, but Young Frankenstein is definitely up there. And what's amazing about it is that even when it came out in 1974, it was done in this style to feel very much like an old movie. And it's not just black and white. I mean, just the way it was shot and everything looks like it's from another era. Yet it still works surprisingly well today. The humor still lands. Gene Wilder is an absolute genius. I mean, I know he does get a lot of credit, but I still think Gene Wilder is one of the most underappreciated performers of the 20th century. This movie's almost 50 years old, almost half a century, yet all the humor still works really well because it's all based in silliness for the most part, and it's not topical or of a particular era, which is why this thing still holds up so well. All right, now we'll change things up with what is largely considered one of the best movies depicting war, particularly the Vietnam War with Platoon. Now, personally, as a movie buff, I think Apocalypse Now is the grander project in this category, yet Platoon is still an amazing movie. You know, Charlie Sheen is the lead. This is certainly one of his best movies and best roles, but there's such an amazing supporting cast in this movie. I mean, for a veteran,
let's go solo, fuck it. Let's see what happens.
Countless good movies.
Hold on, wait a minute.
Is still one of his best. You've also got Tom Berenger, Keith David, Forrest Whitaker, and even one of Johnny Depp's earliest appearances. Now, this was directed by Oliver Stone, and I do consider it to be one of his best, but it's also his most sort of straightforward movie. He gets a little crazy with the direction and the editing and things in his movies, which I love, but he didn't do that here. He really respected, I think, the veterans here and tried to tell a story that was different from some of the other stories being told at the time. That's how good this movie is, and it's not even close to the top spot. That's how strong the rest of this list is. Now, on this list, I've already mentioned some of my favorite directors, and the Coen brothers certainly fit into that category, so much so that what little we have left on this list actually features two Coen brothers movies. The next one is Oh Brother Where Art Thou? Another one with timeless humor, still incredibly funny today. And if you didn't know, this is actually based on the Odyssey. The Coen brothers have not adapted things in their work much, and they took the Odyssey and turned it into this southern epic. Not only that, this was one of the first movies to use a new kind of technology that allowed them to change the color palette of the movie digitally, even though this was shot on film. I know that's confusing, but this beautiful color, these gold and amber colors that everything had in this movie, was to represent the Dust Bowl age and things, but where they filmed, everything was luscious and green, so it looked nothing like
holding for deployment. Take this time to ready up. Enemy soldier nearby. Playtime's over. Stand by for deployment to the war zone. Resurgence.
Alright, let's do this dolo thing, baby.
Withstand a resurgence countdown to guarantee your redeployment. Earn points to secure it faster. Primary objective is to eliminate all enemies. Attack! Enemy soldier nearby.
Was part of the group that ended up in this parking lot that October afternoon, where the shots
enemy UAV active
right across the street from the police department.
What's poppin' there, everybody? Welcome back to the channel. It's KB and we locked in. Now let's jump into it. Today, we're going to be speaking about Pooh Shiesty, his background, how he blew up, and why he is facing serious prison time. Pooh Shiesty, real name Lontrell Williams Jr., is from the south side of Memphis and grew up in the Cane Creek Project.
Loadout drop headed your way.
In order to understand Pooh, you gotta understand where he comes from. Memphis is a notoriously dangerous area of Tennessee and the South in general. In Memphis, there are currently around 102 different gangs, and out of 500,000 people that populate the area, around 14,000 of them are gang members. It would be more accurate to describe the gangs in the
enemy UAV active. Enemy UAV active.
Like the Bloods and the Crips, but also dozens of smaller offset gangs.
Gas is inbound.
The top 5 most dangerous cities in America for multiple years in a row. Not only is Memphis dangerous, but it's small. In fact, Memphis don't even have the west side. It's just the north.
UAV is beginning flyover.
On one side of Memphis is Arkansas, and on the other side is Mississippi. All 3 states are war.
You're being tracked by an enemy team. Tread carefully.
Because of the I-55 interstate connection.
Enemy UAV active.
A lot of runoff crime from the surrounding areas. In addition to understanding Memphis, in order to understand Pooh, you need to understand...
UAV is out of fuel. Returning for resupply. Enemy UAV active.
South Memphis is one of the oldest sections of Memphis, and as such, it's also one of the poorest. It stretches from Midtown all the way to the Mississippi state line. In this area of Memphis, you will see as many churches as you do gang members, but don't let that fool you. South Memphis is a hotbed of crime, and Southern hospitality is rarely exercised in these parts of the city. A list of notable rappers from South Memphis include Pooh Shiesty, Big 30, DJ Paul, Key Glock, Tay-G, Young Dolph, Black Youngster, Big Scar, and Moneybag Yo. And that says something about South Memphis and its influence. Pooh Shiesty was born November 8, 1999, and right out the gate, he was being raised by a hustler. Pooh's dad is also named Lontrell Williams, but he's also known as Mob Boss. He was also the founder and CEO of a local record label, Mob Ties Records. So from the jump, music was a part of Shiesty's life. But not only that, so was the streets. A quick look into Pooh's dad's background reveals some disturbing truth. Here are a couple examples. In 2006, Mob Ties Records had an artist on the roster named Miscellaneous, and Miscellaneous got into a shootout at a Yo Gotti birthday bash where 3 people were shot. And then in 2004, Pooh's dad, along with another man named Stanley Andrews and a woman named Marquita Thomas, were arrested for being involved in the homicide of a local Memphis radio personality for Q107.5 named Rebecca Gline. According to reports on April 14, 2004, Rebecca was at home at her Memphis apartment. A man, now identified as Stanley Andrews,
check your gear and weapons. We go soon.
It was wandering the halls, knocking on random people's doors during the night. Rebecca got a knock on her door, and without checking, opened the door to the same. According to Stanley, phone call, then when she opened the door, she started yelling at him, and so he just snapped.
That was too close.
Whether that happened or not, we don't know, but what we do know is that Stanley would barge through the door, wrapping his hands around Rebecca's neck, and would strangle her to death, and then rob her. It's unclear if anything else took place, but when the police first arrested Stanley, they charged him with first-degree murder and perpetration of rape and aggravated rape. Whose dad was not on the
Enemy
scene
soldiers nearby.
So that I can also highlight the kinds of conditions Pooh grew up in. Pooh would have only been 4 years old when the incident occurred, showing how young he
Practice is over. The real fight begins now.
What you ready?
Resurgence. Gas is approaching your position. Get to the safe zone. Survive the countdown to secure your redeployment. Earning points speeds up the countdown.
After seeing someone enter the apartment with a black duffel bag, Detective Kittrell Robinson of the Memphis Police Department
attack!
The officer proceeded forward and said he could hear the sound of glass breaking. And somebody
You aren't done yet.
Go! On his way up the stairs, the officer would go over the 75-pound but rushed the officer. The officer shot the animal 3 times, and the dog retreated to the kitchen and the detective continued to testify that he saw Pooh's dad multiple times to come out with his hands up, which he eventually did after about 15 seconds. Indicating that someone had jumped out of the window. The officers would find and recovered 12.5 grams of cocaine, 2 digital scales that were on the kitchen, lots of 9mm ammunition, a rocking tool that you
Doing too much, trying to listen to the goddamn TV. Alright, let's go, let's go, let's go. They're gonna respect you. Oh!
So within the first 7 years of his life, Pooh's dad would be arrested for murder and robbery, plus all of the charges from the trap house raid, setting the tone for what Pooh Shiesty would look up to from there on. Pooh's dad was engaged to Marquita Thomas, the woman charged with him on the murder case, and he had been with her for 7 years.
Enemy UAV active.
According to the court records, though, Pooh's dad was involved in the step of the way.
Shit. 1 kill.
Got another chance to make a difference.
It's going down over this motherfucker.
But that would only last 2 years before his dad was set.
You've got gas moving in. Enemy UAV active.
So his dad was a rapper. He didn't have any intentions of
Got you back.
Yeah, what you doing?
Just couldn't avoid
Good shit.
Here we go again. Enemy UAV active.
When Boo was only 11 years old,
We lost that one, but we'll come back stronger next time.
when he was when he was 14, but there aren't many details about the these two arrests took place, so it seemed like Boo would be following in his dad's footsteps, jumping headfirst into the streets. When Boo hit high school, he would be grouped with other teenagers from the city, some of who weren't from the same area. Memphis has hoods like any other city, but the city has somewhat segregated them from each other. Each hood has its own elementary and middle schools, separated by train tracks that run through the city. The gangs in the city have used the tracks as a way to identify borders in the hoods of the city. Basically, the tracks are what set up the territories for the gangs. Growing up, Boo never really had to interact with anyone from the other side of the tracks. But in Memphis, once you get past grade school, the chances are you will go to high school with other people from other gangs and neighborhoods that can cause problems. Boo started attending Central High School, which is across the tracks from his hood. Being put into a position where Boo had to interact with other gangs led him and his homies to start their own, called Chopper.
You have probably heard somebody talk about how genetically modified weed is this horrible thing that has forever changed the plant we love. But GMO weed isn't even a real thing, or at least it wasn't until very recently.
Check your gear and weapons. We go soon.
From the 70s all the way to modern day scientists growing cannabis compounds in petri dishes. And if you were to compare the strains from the 70s to what we have now, it might be easy to believe that there's been some genetic modification.
Enemy soldier nearby.
Comments on this channel from people who are concerned about GMO weed. So in this video, we're going to look at why this so-called genetically modified weed isn't what you think it is. And we're going to look at the first actual GMO cannabis that is now really being created. Genetic engineering, or genetic modification, is an artificial method of splicing either human-made genes or genes from foreign organisms into another living being.
Enemy soldier
So now the
nearby.
life forms created this way are called genetically modified organisms, or GMOs. In agriculture, genetically modified crops are usually designed to resist pesticides, herbicides, or extreme weather conditions. And it is widely believed that these same methods have somehow been used to create a new type of cannabis. Genetic modification is used with something called artificial selection. Artificial selection is selective breeding. One example of it is the domesticated dogs. People took different looks and features of their favorite dogs and bred them together until they had something very different from the wild wolf they started out with. Artificial selection can drastically change an animal or a plant, but artificial selection is always done in some sort of natural breeding, like getting dogs. The GMOs were actually having something else in DNA, which is a very difficult thing to do when it's done in areas such as black. BT4 is the most popular gene in the U.S., and it was created in a lab by adding genes from a soil bacteria to the genetic structure of a corn plant.
That's gas you don't want to breathe. Make your way to the safe zone. Withstand a resurgence countdown to guarantee your redeployment. Earn points to secure it faster.
Some people say that genetic modification is the reason that today's strains
hunt the enemy before they hunt you.
There are plenty of videos where people talk about dangerous GMO weed without ever getting into the specifics of how it is actually genetically modified. But we have changed a lot in a very short period of time. So could this all be or is there something funky? Has been happening with cannabis for thousands of years, and humans have been breeding for better quality that entire time. And the modern testing and cultivation techniques have allowed us to
good shit. Damn, I got beat up by this motherfucker, man. Good shit. I'ma fuck you up though.
Cannabis has far more cannabinoids and THC than cannabis from
We're returning you to the front lines. Go get him.
Got to get him back for that. That was good.
Expert and PhD
enemy soldier nearby. Enemy UAV active.
Interviewed on this subject by High Times magazine, where he was quoted saying that GMO cannabis out there. For the plant to truly be genetically modified, it would mean that 4 genes of genetic mutation were added to the genes of the cannabis plant to alter its genetic structure. And to have a successful GMO crop, you need to make the organism transform, meaning that it will foreign genes you added to it down to its offspring, and the new genes. This is hard to do because the cannabis plant has
gun's too big.
You've got a second chance. Make it count.
So if you try to change the genetics of a cannabis plant, you can just become a hermaphrodite and self-pollinate. Over $100 million to develop a GMO crop, and since it's still federally illegal, it's way harder to get funding or use federally backed labs. So the weed we are smoking has not been genetically modified
enemy UAV active
or to make it grow any bigger. Mankind has just perfected the art and science of selective breeding and crossing great strains with other great strains. High Times magazine even says the simple truth of the matter is selective breeding.
You've got gas moving in.
As much as building, anyone looking for more potency doesn't have to potency because it doesn't exist. But now that statement is outdated.
Good shit though.
And it has been for a few years. Biosciences claims to have created the world's first GMO cannabis plant in 2019 by attaching mutant
good shit, good shit.
that resulted in a plant that produced water-soluble THC and CBD. And research like this is really taking off as more and more places utilize weed. And new technologies
enemy soldier
like
nearby.
gene editing have made it way easier to fight
enemy UAV
natural
active.
urges to resist genetic change. Pretty much everywhere weed is legal, companies are doing research on genetically modified.
Airstrike target designated.
That's the request. Buster strike is active.
Good shit.
You're back in the action.
And even though GMO weed is now finally a real thing, it has nothing to do with why
headed your way.
gotten so much better in the past 50 years. The research and development on genetically modified cannabis is still a relatively new thing, and it hasn't really made its way into the market yet. And it never
Gas is moving. Only 25 left. Keep moving forward. We lost that one, but we'll come back stronger next time.
Scientists are trying to make lab-grown cannabinoids so they can stop growing cannabis plants. Sounds crazy, right?